Hey everyone, it's your average chess player here. Today we are going to look at this endgame position. It is white's turn to play and the board is facing this way. Feel free to pause the video here and try to find the best move for white and also what is the winning continuation. Feel free to skip ahead to the solution part of the video if you want to verify your solution or you just want the solution for this position. Stick around if you want to see me solve this position, understand, show the nuances that I noticed, the patterns that I saw, mistakes that I did before finally stumbling upon the right solution. So let's get started. It's white's turn to play, like I said, and what do we do here as white? We can look at the candidate moves here, which may or may not be obvious. The move rook e1 is one, rook g3 is another, king e7 is another. These were the three candidate moves that I came up with when I saw this position first. And the plan for white is to just kind of take care of these two pawns, to not let them queen, and maybe even capture them both and then win the game. And black will try to counter that by trying to queen one of these pawns and even exchange one of the pawns for the rooks. So that is kind of the idea here. So let's start with the move rook e1. This is what I tried first, and I wanted to put in a token move of a5. And here there's already like two moves that we can play. I first tried king e7. So with king e7, a4, king d6, the first variation I calculated here was king to b2. The idea of just queening this pawn, but that soon led to this position with king c5, a3, king b4, a2. And a very important move is to give a check with the rook. And after king b1, king b3, black can actually queen the pawn. But unfortunately, it's too late because it's a checkmate on e1. I was kind of excited that, oh, I might have found the winning variation on my first try. So as usual, whenever I find a winning variation, I just go back and see at what point is there a fork in the road and what move is not forced, like really forced. And came back to this position and saw that king b2 is not a move that is forced. And if you see the variation itself, white has this move king c5, which actually gives him access to b4, c4, and then kind of access into the position all the way until b3. So instead of king b2, if black plays this move king b4, kind of creating that barrier and allowing the black pawn to queen, we can see now the position is not as straightforward as it was, and this is actually a draw. So after a move like king b4, if let's say we play rook takes e3, a3, king d5, trying to come forward, a2, we have to catch up with this pawn now. King b3, check, king b2, check. And after this, it's just a draw because white cannot prevent this pawn from queening. If I bring the king forward, it's just queens, takes, and this is a draw. So the only thing that we learned from this variation, the main thing rather, is that this b4 square is kind of important in this endgame. And as white, we need to see how we can gain access there. So let's go back. So the next move I wanted to try was rook to g3. And I put in the same token move, a5, king e7. I'm kind of doing the same sequence of things just to see what happens. a4, king d6. And here again, not king b2, king b4, preventing this. And as soon as we do that, we kind of end up in the same variation without any. There's not much difference here, and it's the same drawish position that we have here, and that's pretty much it. In fact, like in this position, if I shouldn't be playing king c3, I should be giving a check because after this is it's a queen, so my bad. So let's go back. So rook g3 is not gonna work. The other straightforward move, which is probably the first move everyone's gonna try in this position, is king e7. Now here I I realized that the variation I calculated was flawed in a way, because the first move I thought of was a5. This is already a blunder from black because white is still winning in this position, but I did not realize it at that time. I just went for the variation with king d6, and this is the wrong move, and I'll explain why it is the wrong move later. Here, black can again play this move king b4 and take away the c5 square. Let's say king d5, a4. I can throw in a check with rook b1, and black can play this nice move, king c3, stepping away from this pawn, but then stepping into this pawn to kind of queen. If you play king a5, after king c5, white is winning, because I have this threat of rook b8, and which is a checkmate. If you play something like, let's say you play a3 and I play rook b8 with the threat of checkmate, and you play king to a6 trying to avoid that, then I have the skewer, you move, I take this, then I catch up to this pawn. It becomes really bad. So king c3 is a nice move to sidestep all that and keep the chances alive. And the sample variation would go like this, where you queen, and then we kind of reach a familiar in-game territory where we are forced to give up our rook for the pawn. So let's go back. So this is not working, right? Again, we didn't really learn anything from that variation. So only the variation with rook e1 gave us a checkmating pattern, and also the importance of the b4 square here. And that's all. That's the 3 candidate moves that I had, and I didn't really know what the solution is until like I was like, okay, my mind is stressing so much about this b4 square. Let's see how I can take this square away. And the immediate move that I thought of was just to play rook b1. I didn't want to play something like rook g4, because then the black king can always come to b3 and push the pawn, and also like I need to keep a check on this pawn, and it just didn't feel intuitive. So rook b1 is the first move that I thought of, and this is when I realized that if black plays a move like a5 and I play king e7, this is a transposition from the other variation with king e7 first. Like king e7, a5, rook b1, and white is still winning here. So that is why I said it was a blunder. And in fact, the correct move here after king e7 is to play king b4 first, so that if you play something like rook e1, a5, and this position is similar to the one we saw with rook e1 first. So we'll go back. I don't want to overcomplicate this. So rook b1, and we're gonna see the first variation with just king to a2, because we're attacking the rook, and I'm gonna play rook to e1. So keeping a check on everything. a5, king e7, a4, king comes in. a3, king c5, king b2, rook e2 check, king b1, king b4, push the pawn, and we already know where this is ending, with a checkmate with the rook on e1. So this is a winning variation. This is clearly winning. Now we need to see why, like what other moves that black has, and are we like completely winning in all variations. So a5 is the other move that I would want to check here. King e7, a4, king d6, king a2. Attack e2 is also another move, but king a2 is attacking the rook, and it feels natural. Rook e1, a3, king c5, king b2, and again we keep running into the same set of variations. With rook e2 check is really important here. Without that, this pawn will queen for free. Rook e2, and we end up in the same position, which is great. Let's go back until here. So a4. Let's go back here. So in the variation with king a2, I also wanted to show this, instead of a4, there's also a move of king b3, just to see if you can push yourself all the way back to b4, which is what the whole idea of rook b1 was, to prevent the king from doing that. But in all these additional moves that black made, white king has caught up. So that is the difference. We started on f8 with the king on b4, but we are on d6 now. So after king e5 or king d5, I think both should work here. a4, king d4, and a3, we kind of reach a similar position to this. Kind of similar position to this. If the king was on d4, it is a very similar position. This was in the variation with king e7, right? And we reached this position with rook b1 check here. And now black is forced to play something like king a4. There's no king c3 here because the white king is taking it away. So king a4, king c3, a2, rook a1, king a3, and black has reached a zugzwang after king c2. Cannot step away from this pawn because this will be captured. Forced to move this. And white can play the nice move, just king to c3. Cannot give up the control of b2, and still black cannot move this, and black is, let's say, forced to queen. I can take here, and if you step away, I play king b2 and take this, and if you queen, it's a checkmate. What a nice position. And let's just, I just wanted to show one more, if I have time on this. One more variation is just, I wanted to see what is happening. So after rook b1, king a2, rook e1, king a3, we reach the same position as our rook e1 variation, but it's white's turn to play. And that kind of plays a huge difference, because after king e7, let's say king b4 first, trying to cut off the king, right? King d6, a5, king d5, a4, king d4, a3. We reach the same position with, it's a transposition from the other one where we played rook b1 check and king a4 and king c3. So something I just wanted to show here. But yeah, that's the endgame. What an endgame. I really enjoyed this. It was, I don't think I would ever have rook b1 on my candidate moves list here, for sure. Okay, so if you skip ahead to this part of the video to see the solution, here it goes. The only winning move for white is to play rook to b1, cutting this blacking off the b file and taking control of the b4 square. Here black has king a2 and a5, both lead to a winning endgame for white. Let's look at king a2. After rook e1, a5, king e7, a4, king d6, a3, king c5, king b2, rook e2 check, king b1, king b4, attacking the pawn. It has to move forward. a2, king b3, and after we let black queen, we have this checkmate on e1. And to show the other variation with a5 first, all the way here, a5 first, king e7, a4, king d6, king a2 now, and we kind of reach a very similar endgame. So it's just a simple transposition of the same thing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like on this video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content. Catch you guys in the next one.